It's pretty wild when you think about it. Schools spent so much time making absolutely sure we knew the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, but then completely left us defenseless against the actual systems we have to deal with every single day. We basically step into adulthood entirely missing the basic instruction manual, and we're just immediately surrounded by systems that were intentionally engineered by experts to extract our money and our attention. Well, today's explainer is going to change that. We're going to decode the invisible rules of the game so you can finally stop playing at a massive disadvantage. So let's jump right into the syllabus. We're covering 5 critical areas today. First, navigating money and value. Then, optimizing your body and mind. Everyday mechanics, communication and conflict resolution, and finally, defending your brain. The goal here is simple: to take you from being a passive victim of confusing systems and turn you into an active, highly informed operator. All right, part 1. Navigating money and value and demystifying the financial trap. Listen, the biggest misconception about being broke isn't necessarily a lack of income. A lot of the time, it's a lack of understanding what money actually does when you aren't actively watching it. Every single subscription service and credit card minimum payment was engineered by someone who spent millions of dollars figuring out how to quietly extract funds from people who just aren't paying attention. A budget isn't a constraint, right? It's a tool of empowerment. It is literally the only thing standing between you and accidentally funding some complete stranger's boat. The people who always seem effortlessly good with money, they just stopped allowing themselves to be surprised by where their dollars went.
Let's debunk a massive, honestly paralyzing panic right now: the fear of earning more money. It's crazy how many people genuinely believe that bumping up to a higher tax bracket hurts their overall take-home pay. In reality, only the portion of your income that falls above that specific threshold gets taxed at the higher rate. It's really that simple. The tax code isn't some big secret. It's public information. It just rewards the people who actually bother to learn its rules. Deductions are legal, structuring your income is legal. You just have to learn how the machine actually operates.
Let's carry that defensive mindset over to negotiation. Every time you accept a price without questioning it, you are more than likely overpaying. You see, the first number offered is almost never their real bottom line. It's just the number they hope you're going to believe. So to negotiate effectively, you just do this: say your number, and then go completely quiet. It's amazing. Most people will walk back their own offer before the other person even says a word, just because they absolutely hate the silence. But remember, silence isn't awkward. It's actual leverage. Because here's the thing, negotiation isn't aggression. You aren't fighting anyone. It is literally just a conversation about numbers, and caving to the discomfort of silence is exactly what the other side is counting on. Somewhere along the line, society conveniently reframed politeness as just accepting whatever you're offered. Don't fall for it. Your discomfort is quite literally their profit margin. Moving right along to section 2, optimizing your body and mind and stripping away all that unnecessary confusion. Think about this for a second. We spend a third of our lives asleep. We are inside our bodies for every single waking hour, and we eat 3 meals a day. Yet we somehow let industries that profit off our confusion dictate how we treat our own health. Let's simplify this, starting with the mind. 1 in 5 people will have a diagnosable mental health condition this year. 1 in 5. That means it's incredibly common. You're either experiencing it yourself right now, or you're very close to someone who is. But because of this ridiculous societal stigma, people wait an average of 6 years before asking for help, totally convinced they should just handle it themselves. Now, you wouldn't diagnose a broken leg as laziness and tell someone to just push through it, right? The exact same logic applies here. Treating anxiety, depression, or ADHD as personality flaws does nothing but prolong suffering. These are specific neurological patterns, and the great news is they actually respond incredibly well to treatment once we drop the judgment and just address the mechanics of what's happening. And when it comes to physical health, the fundamental rules are surprisingly simple. Sleep is not just downtime. If you cut it short, you actively impair your brain's ability to even notice that you're impaired. For exercise, consistent, low-intensity movement, like just walking 4 times a week, totally beats 3 months of intense, miserable burnout. In nutrition, whole foods, getting enough protein, eating vegetables, and just being aware of your calories, that's the whole shebang. All that extra optimization stuff you see online only matters once you actually nail this incredibly basic framework. Okay, section 3, we're talking everyday, daily mechanics and shifting those old paradigms. This is an area where traditional education completely dropped the ball. Take cooking, for example. We're taught to blindly memorize recipes, which essentially leaves us one missing ingredient away from totally giving up and ordering takeout. Instead, we really need to learn techniques, mastering heat control, knowing how to build flavor. Most flat-tasting home cooking isn't actually low quality. It's usually just under-seasoned at the wrong stage of the process. If you fix your seasoning technique, you instantly unlock complete independence in the kitchen. And here is a highly uncomfortable truth about how we study. Highlighting feels incredibly productive, but let's be real, it's basically just adult coloring. Easy studying methods, like passively rereading your notes, only build a false sense of familiarity. They do not build actual knowledge. Real learning requires retrieval. It requires the difficult, sometimes really frustrating effort of closing the book and forcing yourself to pull that information back out of your brain. That difficulty? That is the actual mechanism of learning taking place. Section 4 already. Let's look at communication, conflict resolution, and what we call the precision playbook. I'd argue that 90% of the friction you experience in relationships or at work isn't a personality problem at all. It's entirely a precision problem. People often mistake being direct for being rude, but it's actually the most considerate thing you can possibly do. It gives people an actual target to hit. Vague communication just breeds chaos. And don't forget, the other half of communication is listening. So many of us just sit there loading up our next response while the other person is still talking, which practically guarantees you're going to miss the exact piece of information that would have changed what you were about to say. Now, when it comes to conflict, avoiding it and resolving it might feel pretty identical in the short term, but they have wildly different long-term outcomes. The absolute key to resolving conflict is separating the problem from the person. The exact second a disagreement turns into a personal verdict on someone's character, they completely stop hearing the substance of your argument. Boom, you've just created two fires out of one. So before you enter any difficult conversation, you absolutely must ask yourself one critical question. What outcome do I actually want? Most of us go in knowing exactly what upset us, but we have absolutely zero idea what a resolution even looks like. Going into a conflict without a destination means the conversation is just going to run in exhausting, endless circles. Define your destination first. And finally, Section 5, defending your brain. We're looking at actual tactics to use against manipulation. Let's look at how to protect your mind against engineered pressure and scams. Have you ever wondered why really smart people fall for scams? It's because these three pillars, urgency, authority, and social proof, are perfectly designed to bypass your logic entirely and target your nervous system directly. Legitimate opportunities do not require you to make a life-altering decision in the next 10 minutes. Slowing down is literally the one and only thing that instantly breaks the scammer's entire mechanism. When you're put under pressure, your cortisol spikes and your judgment degrades rapidly. Because of this, you must pre-commit to decisions before the pressure even arrives. Pilots don't improvise during emergencies, and neither should you. You need a rule. If X happens, I do Y. And if you do somehow get caught off guard, force yourself to slow down and ask what advice you would give a friend in that exact situation. Your advice to others is always going to be way less distorted than the decisions you make for yourself. This next definition is an absolute light bulb moment for modern life. We all tend to think dopamine is about pleasure, right? But it's actually about anticipation. It spikes before the reward. That is exactly why you keep scrolling infinitely on your phone, even after you just found something funny. Social platforms were built by behavioral scientists using variable rewards, which is literally the exact same psychology as a casino slot machine, to hijack this anticipation chemical and keep you trapped. Every single time you doom scroll, you are actively recalibrating your brain's baseline. To protect your focus, you have to intentionally lower your inputs, especially by fiercely protecting your mornings. Let's be real, you simply cannot compete with an app designed by a team of PhDs to be more compelling than real life. You have to create actual, physical friction between yourself and that slot machine in your pocket. We've covered a massive amount of ground in this explainer today. From fixing your financial blind spots to rewiring how you handle conflict, health, and your own focus. The reality is, the mechanics of adulthood aren't some mystical secret. They've just been hidden in plain sight. The system around you is operating exactly as it was designed to. So what does this all mean? Well, the only question left is, will you take active control of your money, your mind, and your time, or will you just surrender to the engineered systems around you? That choice is entirely yours.